Good to get back to racing after 1 week off. Welcome back to Not Another Moto Pod, hosted by Sam Fury. This week we'll be covering round 10 from Birmingham, another race that I was lucky enough to attend this week, and what seemed to be a much improved venue from last year when we got rained on all weekend. This was our final Triple Crown format of the year as well, and first and only for the East Coast 250s. We had an exciting weekend with a fifth 250 East winner in 5 races, as well as a great battle in the 450s to keep the championship close with 7 races remaining. As always with the Triple Crowns, I'll go through each race one by one and then into the overall. So let's jump into it. 250 race one. Let's start off with RJ Hampshire. Got the win here. Obviously got the whole shot. Got off to a big gap when Seth Hamaker went down in the fourth turn, I believe, about halfway through the first lap and took out nearly all of the field. RJ just ran away with it. He didn't have much going on. He had about a 3.5 second after the first lap and just tended to manage that. Throughout the race, he did get pressured later in the race by Bial. He was, RJ didn't really look aggressive all night. He looked like he was just out there kind of taking what he got. He did get pressured, like I said, late in the race by Bial, but was able to hold on. So good ride for RJ to start off the night. Second place was Tom Bial. Vial was actually in fourth when Hamaker went down and was able to get around his bike. Luckily enough, Vial was in second for the entirety of the race. And you didn't see too much of it on TV, but being there with about 2 or 3 laps left, he was showing Hampshire a wheel a few times. Looked like he was about to make the pass. He caught on to RJ finally. He kind of methodically worked throughout the race to catch RJ, and then just kind of lost the pace after showing him a wheel a few times. Wasn't able to get back up there. So good ride by Tom as well. Just doing what he does, taking his podiums. Third place, Nate Thrasher. Really good start to the night by Nate. Again, another guy who was able to get around that Hamaker crash and just kind of rode by himself in third for a lot of the race. There were times where he was catching Tom, but not quite close enough to put on a charge or anything. So a good start for the night for Nate Thrasher. This would have been his best finish of the year, to date. Fourth, we have Max Volan. Volan, I think, was the last of the guys to get around that Seth crash. So this top four here kind of rode around in the top four for the majority of the race. After the rest of the class kind of went down or was impeded by the Hamaker crash. So really good ride by Volan. A good start for the night for him to finish in fourth. He rode solid. Fifth place, Carson Mumford. I was really impressed with Mumphy all night. Mumphy was back in ninth off of the first lap and made a lot of passes to get up to fifth. He looked really good. He looked really comfortable. Obviously, he looked good in qualifying and held that fast qualifier until the last lap. I believe he was bumped back to third. But really good night for Mumford, and this was the start of a good night going into races 2 and 3. Sixth place, Chance Hymas. Hymas didn't do much. He kind of moved backwards a bit. I don't know if he was uncomfortable with the track or what. He hasn't shown us much this year, but not a great ride for Hymas here in sixth. Truthfully, considering where he was, and the guys who finished ahead of him are definitely guys that he can beat. But not sure what happened there. Hymas looked good here last year. I believe he got fifth place. I believe this is actually he went down, but I believe he was in fifth place. And this was one of his best rides last year at Birmingham. So not sure what happened here this week. Seventh place, Hardy Munoz. Really good ride for Hardy. Hardy's the Sendy guy, but a top 10, and being in seventh was really a good ride for Hardy. Dax Bennick in eighth. Dax actually had a good start and was unfortunately impeded with that Hamaker crash. Didn't go down, but he was, held back a bit. Dax looked good. Dax had a lot of good jumping lines on the night, so really good night for him. Ninth place, Seth Hamaker. Again, I keep saying Hamaker went down early, so Hamaker went from dead last to ninth to finish out the race. So he looked fast. He was making a lot of moves. He got a lot of TV time, and this was just a sign of things to come for him on the night. So good ride by Seth to get back to ninth. Obviously, a guy who wants to be in that top 3 every race, but under the circumstances, a really good ride. And like I said, he looked fast, he looked comfortable. 10th place, Cullen Park. Not much for Cullen. He's been around the 7, 8, 9, 10 this year, so good ride for him. 11th, Austin Faulkner. Faulkner went down with Hamaker, and Hamaker passed him straight up and got a few positions on him. It would have been nice to see him tag along with Seth. He did make a few passes through the through the field, but was not quite at the same pace as Hammaker. These last few guys didn't see much of them on TV, nor in the race. There was a lot of battling going on. 12th, Henry Miller. 13th, Luke Neese. 14th, Lance Kobush. 15th, Michael Hicks. 16th, Lorenzo Locurcio. 17th, Nick Romano. 18th, Hamden Hudson, his first ever main event. 19th, Crockett Myers. 20th, Gage Linville. Gage Linville had actually passed into third on the first lap, had passed Vial after a great start, and was the first guy to go down, the first domino to go down with Hammaker. He ran into Hammaker, and they collectively kind of started that pile up. On the next lap, he actually got stuck at the top of the berm with his bike for almost a lap, so really screwed his race here, unfortunately, for Linville. He looked quick on the night. 21st, Lane Shaw. 22nd, Trevor Collop. Collop went down about halfway through the race, I believe, and walked off holding his shoulder. So unfortunate there for Trevor Collop, but good to see him in the main event again. Looking at race 2 in the 250s, we had a lot of the same. Order changed a bit at the top, but everybody within a couple positions from race 1. First place, of course, Seth Hammaker had a great ride, showing the speed that he showed in qualifying as well. As he did in Moto 1 after making plenty passes. So a really good ride for Hammaker. Led start to finish after a small mistake on lap 1, but a really good to bounce back from Moto 1 there. Second place, RJ Hampshire. RJ got a good start again. Looked to kind of just ride that thing in second place. The top of the order was kind of settled pretty early in this one again. Looked like there were not too many passing spots on the track. But RJ kind of hung out where he was at. Briefly took the lead on lap 1 from Hammaker, but was passed back shortly after and rode this thing in for second. On the podium, he kind of said he was not really feeling it, which is odd after going 1-2 and being well in position at this point to win the Triple Crown overall with his 3 points compared to Nate Thrasher's 6. But you could kind of tell RJ, something was going on with him, whether an injury, maybe just some lethargic. I don't know. He seemed like he wasn't into it, but riding well nonetheless. Third place, another good ride from Nate Thrasher. Made a late pass on Carson Mumford to get third, so really good for Nate, putting himself in good position going into Moto 3. Fourth place, Carson Mumford, again, very impressive. The 5-4 going into Moto 3, really good for Mumphy. I think he was actually third overall going into the third race. So he looked spicy on the day, so really good riding by Carson Mumford. Tom Vial, fifth place. Vial was putting some heat on Mumphy late before the last couple turns, but wasn't able to get there. Vial just kind of rode around in fifth. He didn't make many passes, but didn't make any mistakes. This was kind of a weird ride for Vial. I wonder if he made some changes on the bike, which would have been odd to me after getting second in Moto 1 and pressuring for the win, but who knows? Just kind of, like I said, rode around in fifth. Sixth place, Max Volan. Good ride for him to back up his fourth. Dax, seventh. Good ride for him backing up that eighth. Faulkner got eighth in this one. Solid ride from him. Kind of putting things together there. We've seen him getting, better and better each week. He's not the old Austin, but seems to be putting a few things together here and there. Ninth place, Cullen Park. Cullen Park to me is unfortunately stuck in this 7 through 10 purgatory. I don't know if he's getting many eyes, but it's a really good finish for him. He's riding really well. It's just, he's here every week, and it's not gonna, get many eyeballs, but it is what it is. So good riding for Cullen Park. Chance Hymas 10th place again. Kind of an odd night for him. Hardy Munoz 11th. Another good start for Hardy. I'm not sure what happened. He dropped back there quite a bit. This 12 through 22 here kind of stayed the same as race 1. Hicks, Locurcio, Miller, Linville, Hudson, Neese, Kobush, Myers, Shaw, Romano, Collop. Trevor Collop did not start. Finished 22nd here in race 2. Jumping into race 3, another wire-to-wire win by Seth Hammaker. Really showed that he was the fastest guy on the night. Just got up front and didn't make mistakes. So really good for Seth. 9-1-1 on the day. Really good. Second place, Nate Thrasher. Thrasher looked good. Again, this is another one of those races where the top, 5 guys or so were settled pretty early in the race. But Thrasher looked fast up there. It looked good. It was really fun, actually, kind of doing the math with Thrasher hanging out in second, not really pressuring Hammaker for first, and kind of holding off Vial pretty easily, pretty handily. So it was really cool to kind of sit back and be like, oh my God, Nate Thrasher's going to win this thing without winning a main event, which is always for me. It's always fun to see. Obviously, you want to see the guys who win the races. The actual races, maybe win the overall. But for me, it's cool to actually see someone who didn't win all the races and just stay consistent. It's really fun for me to watch. Third place, Tom Vial. Vial did fight a bit with Dax Bennick for third, fourth place. Vial held him off. Vial's not a guy to make mistakes. It's hard to get by. He rides his perfect laps and finishes on the podium. That's what he does. That's what he's known for. Fourth place, Dax Bennick. This was a really good ride by Dax. He was pressuring Vial at times, just couldn't make the pass around. Dax looked really comfortable, all around on the night. So good for Dax to finish fourth. Fifth place, RJ Hampshire. RJ got caught up, unfortunately, in the first turn. He didn't go down, but he did get held up with some other guys. It was really cool to watch him make a lot of passes from the back very quickly, and then it looked like he just kind of ran out of steam when he got to fifth. He had about 5 seconds to get on Bennick with about 5 minutes left and just couldn't go anywhere, unfortunately. Again, watching him in fifth, it was kind of doing the math type of thing to see what Thrasher was going to do. Obviously, these Triple Crown main events, the tiebreaker goes to the best third race finish, so that would be why Thrasher got RJ on the night. 6, Chance Hymas, best ride for Hymas on the night, but again, just not. It didn't seem like he was there pushing in the battle or anything, but just kind of a whatever night for Chance Hymas. 7th place again, Cullen Park. He found his position. 8th, Hardy Munoz, another good start for Hardy. Dropped back a bit, but he was up there all night. It was really good night for Hardy Munoz. 9th place, Austin Faulkner. He got held up as well in that first turn. 10th, Max Volan. He was held up in the first turn. Worst race on the night for him, but again, a lot of these guys battled from the back. And then again, for the third race in a row, essentially the same pack from about 11 back, with Henry Miller 11th, Michael Hicks 12th, Lance Kobush 13th, Lacurcio, Hudson, Myers, Romano, Nice, Shaw, Linville, 21st, Carson Mumford. Mumphy did go down in that first turn crash. He was a bit hurt. He did post on social media yesterday that he should be okay. And then 22nd, Trevor Collip did not race the second or third race after that crash in race 1. So jumping forward into the overall, Nate Thrasher with a 3.32 scores. It's a really solid night for Nate Thrasher, our 5th winner in 5 races on the East Coast. Really cool to see. Tom Vial, the points leader, hasn't even won a race yet. So this thing's getting really interesting. Would love to see if we could make it 10 different winners. We talked about how deep this class was early. We've obviously lost a few guys, but we are really seeing the true depth of this class with 5 winners in 5 races. Second place, RJ Hampshire, obviously tied on points with Nate Thrasher for the night. But again, the third race is the tiebreaker. Third place, Tom Vial just finds himself on the podium, 2.53 on the night. Fourth place, Seth Hammaker, unfortunate to go 9.11. And not finish on the podium after being the fastest guy, but that's how it goes when you make those mistakes early in those races. Fifth place, Dax Bennick, 8.74 scores, got better as the night went on. 6th, Max Volan. 7th, Chance Hymas. 8th, Cullen Park, he's right there. 9th place, Hardy Munoz, his first top 10 of the season. I think he's had a top 10 before, but this was a really good ride for him. 10th place was Austin Faulkner. So a solid bounce back for Faulkner. After a few, he got held up in both pileups and still had solid finishes on the night. So really, really decent night for Austin Faulkner. Mumphy, an unfortunate 11th after going 5.4.21, and then of course got hurt. But again, like did say he would be back. And here's those 12 through 22 guys: Henry Miller 12th, Michael Hicks 13th, Lorenzo Lacurcio 14th, Lance Kobush 15th, Luke Neese 16th, Hamden Hudson 17th, Crockett Myers 18th, Nick Romano 19th. Kind of look to see more from Nick Romano. He's one of these guys, one of these names that sticks out of this, 12 through 22 as a guy who should be maybe finishing better. But we'll see aboard that Phoenix Honda. 20th Gage Linville, kind of an unfortunate night. He looked fast. He had incidents in all three main events. Unfortunately, that kind of killed his night, going 20, 15, 20. Lane Shaw, 21st, and Trevor Kolb, 22, 22 for 22nd place. Looking at the points, unfortunately this week we did lose Max Anstey to a broken leg, so the points look a little different. Tom Vial now has a 10-point lead over RJ Hampshire, 13-point lead over Seth Hamaker. Anstey's fourth in points, but obviously is injured. And then Nate Thrasher, the only one who's kind of mathematically still in this thing, down 21 points. It'll be very interesting to see moving forward. We have 5 races left. 2 of them are showdowns, so things could change quickly in this class. I did still have RJ as my championship favorite, but the way that Hamaker's riding lately, I wonder if he can kind of get in there and mix things up and maybe have a big swing at one of these showdowns after showing what he could do a couple weeks back, and then how fast he was this week. So that should be very interesting. Moving forward, again, with 5 races left, 2 of those are going to be showdowns. Vial yet to win a race. This is really shaping up to be a really good class in the East Coast, and everything it was talked up to be preseason. And again, we don't even have, so Max Anstey's out, Levi Kitchen's not here, Austin Faulkner's underperforming maybe from what we expected, Cameron McAdoo's out, and somehow we are still finding our way in the middle of a really cool 250 East Coast Championship this season. Moving over to the 450 class, we'll go through the 3 main events, of course. Main event 1, Chase Sexton. Chase got back to his winning ways. He looked fast all day, as usual. Made a good pass on Jason Anderson early, and then had about 6 minutes to get by AP. He did so, in a couple minutes. Made a clean pass and just kind of set sail from there. But looked good, looked like the best guy, repeating what he did in the Triple Crown in Arlington in the first 2 races here. So really good ride for Sexton and really setting himself up well. Second place, Aaron Plessinger. Plessinger got the whole shot and was riding out front. You could hear when he would come around the track, the entire crowd was going nuts. It was really cool to see, and it's really good to see AP riding up front again, looking more like he did last year. Third place, Malcolm Stewart. Mookie probably had the most underrated ride in this first race. Mookie made a lot of passes and rode really good. Made a good pass on Ken Roczen to get into third. Mookie was fast even after a fall in qualifying with Justin Hill. That he took a while to get up from that crash. I was a little worried going into the night, and I was very surprised to see him in this first race, racing his way forward into third place. Fourth place, Ken Roczen. Roczen announced in the second qualifying that he had an AC separation in his shoulder, so we know he was riding injured as well, but a really good ride by Kenny. He was making some good moves in the middle of the race. Malcolm caught him, and then Jason and Jay Cooper kind of putting some heat on him in the last few laps, but he did have a bit of a gap. Nothing too serious, as long as Kenny was hitting his marks, and he was, of course, the way Ken Roczen does. So a good fourth, salvaging after the injury. Fifth place, Jason Anderson. Ando looked fast. Like I said, he did get passed by Chase Sexton, and Sexton did put him down early in the race, which lost him a couple positions. But Anderson set himself up here for a good night. Obviously, didn't work out at the end of the night, but did what he could here early, to put himself in a good position with fifth. Sixth place, Justin Cooper. Jay Coop looked off all night. I didn't see much from him. He had a cool jump line in qualifying through the whoops, and then when we got to the main event, the whoops were not really jumpable. Nobody was jumping them. Even Jay Coop was skimming them, and I really think that hurt him. So 6th place here for Jay Coop. 7th place, Cooper Webb. Webb went down on the same turn that Hamaker did on the first lap and lost some position, so a good way for him to rebound. Just unfortunate for him to get 7th here. 8th place, Shane McElrath. Shane's been riding good. 8th place is really good for him. He's been getting these starts all year and just kind of dropping back. I'm not one to complain about the TV broadcast, but Lee Diffie made a big deal about Shane McElrath being up front on the start. He's done this like 4 times now. We're 10 races in. Shane has been up front early, especially lately, in a lot of these races. So that was odd to hear. But, McElrath, he's been getting these starts and obviously fading back to, the 10, 11, 12 range. But 8th place, good for him. 9th place, Dylan Ferrandis. Didn't see much of Dylan. He was kind of invisible out there. 10th place, Benny Bloss. I think that's Benny's best finish of the year. 11th, Christian Craig, first ride back. I kind of thought Craig was going to be 9 through 12 coming back this week, maybe in 12 range, so 11th place, good for him. 12th place, Jerry Robin. That's an awesome ride for Jerry. 13th, Colt Nichols. Not much going on for Colt this year, unfortunately. 14th, Chiz. 15th, Grant Harlan. 16th, Oldenburg. I think Oldenburg went down because he was up there with Benny for a while, and I saw him drop through the pack. 17th, Justin Hill. Hill was up there in the 5, 6, 7 early, and I believe he went down. Barsha 18th as well. He went down at some point and didn't really rebound from that. 19th, Tristan Lane. 20th, Kevin Morans. 21st, Mitchell Harrison. And 22nd, Justin Starling. Starling was down for a while there as well. You could see in the main event. And that's it for race 1. Race 2, another clinic by Chase Sexton. First place here. Back-to-back wins for him. Kind of did it the same way he did in the first race. Started up there with AP, made the same exact pass in the same exact section as he did on AP in race 1. Just got out front and rode his laps and rode away for the wins. Really good start for the night by Chase Sexton. Second place, Malcolm Stewart. Like I said, Malcolm looked like to have an underrated ride in the first race, and he was on rails in race 2. He made a pass on AP to get in a second. Unfortunately, Chase had a bit of a gap there, but man, Malcolm was flying in this race. Really good for him. Good start on the night to go 3-2. Aaron Plessinger going 2-3. So AP and Malcolm tied going into race 3. AP looked really good again. Another good start. Really looking like he was going to end up on the podium. It was really hard to see anybody but these three ending up on the podium at this point. Fourth place, Cooper Webb, bouncing back from his 7th in race 1. Coop was in 4th for a while and just couldn't make a move on AP. I guess AP had the speed. There was not a lot of separation on this track, truthfully, as long as you were hitting the big rhythm, that quad, triple, whatever, by the on-off section. That was really it. There wasn't much to the whoops, wasn't much to the other sections. It was a really busy track, so really, again, not many places to make mistakes. Obviously, the sand section caught a few people, but not many. So good ride for Coop here in 4th, but again, he just couldn't make the passes. 5th place, Justin Barsha. Barsha just rode a solid race. 6th place, Ken Roxon. Roxon, unfortunately, it looked that he was faster than Barsha, but Barsha's so hard to pass. He dogged him for the entire race and just could not make his way around, as we've seen time and time again with anybody trying to get around Justin Barsha. 7th place, Justin Cooper. Again, another kind of so-so ride for Jay Coop here. Not much on the night for him. 8th, Jason Anderson. Anderson's got to be frustrated with these first 2 races. He was riding up front. Cooper Webb actually took him out unintentionally, but just for him to drop back to 8th after that crash, after 2 good starts, being up front in both races, and the way that his season has gone, where he has not been up to in the front of the field recently after having so many podiums early in the year. So just another unfortunate one here for Jason Anderson. I'm starting to learn that the crowd here in Birmingham really didn't like Jason Anderson. He's one of my favorite riders, of course. But the crowd would get loud every time he was taken out. He has another crash here in race 3. And man, it was loud every time he went down. 9th place, Justin Hill, a good bounce back for him. 10th again, Benny Bloss. It's 2 10th places for Benny. 11th, Mitchell Oldenburg, bouncing back from that 16th he had in race 1. Shane McElrath, 12th, not up front in this one, but a good finish around where he's used to finishing over in 12th. 13th, Jerry, another good finish. 14th again for Chiz. 15th, Christian Craig. I actually didn't see what happened in this one. I think he must have went down. I think he was riding around 12th in every race here. But to see this 15th, he must have gone down at some point. Didn't see much on TV. 16th, Grant Harlan. 17th, Mitchell Harrison. 18th, Tristan Lane. 19th, Kevin Morans. 20th, Justin Starling. 21st, Colt Nichols. Colt must have made a mistake somewhere as well, because he was riding much better than 21st. And then 22nd, Dylan Ferrandis. Ferrandis went down early, back in the same turn that Hammaker and Coop went down in. It was a pretty good one. He hit the ground pretty hard and was down for almost an entire lap, and actually did just get off the track right before the leaders came around and just pulled off. So unfortunate race 2 there for Dylan Ferrandis. Race 3, we had a new winner, Cooper Webb. Good night for him. Well, good end of the night for him at least. Knowing he can go into next week, telling himself that he beat Chase Sexton straight up in this third race is something for him. The way that he is, the way that he's so headstrong, and the way that he puts his confidence together. A really good rebound from this, 7-4-1 on the night for Cooper. Not the best overall finish, but good way to finish this thing. Started second, made a pass on Chase when Chase spun out going up the jump face a couple laps into the race. Just kind of rode his race from there. Chase didn't have much urgency. Pulling it in second. Smart ride from Chase. Obviously, we saw in Arlington what happened. Basically the same situation. And so really good for Sexton to make a mistake. Cooper gets around him and not to compound on that mistake, knowing what happened in Arlington and dropping back to third overall in that race when he could have had the win. And just settling for second here to take the overall win was really good, really mature ride from Chase Sexton. Third place again, Malcolm Stewart. Malcolm rode really good. He made the same pass on AP as he did on Ken Roxon in the same corner to go from fifth to third in this race. Again, was really fast. Didn't get much pressure on the top two, but really good to ride it in. Here for another podium, going 3-2-3 on the night. Fourth place, Ken Roxon, a really good ride from Roxon. He looked to be pressuring Chase early. Webb was kind of riding backwards a bit to hold off Sexton, and Ken was making a push. Unfortunately, couldn't get to those guys, and Malcolm eventually got by him. But a really good ride to rebound from that sixth in race 2 by Ken Roxon. Fifth place, AP. Not AP's best ride of the night, but he did get another good start. A solid ride from him, and of course to finish on the podium was really the goal here. So good finish on the night for him, all things considered. Sixth place, here's Jay Coop again. A pretty quiet night for Jay Coop. Justin Barcia seventh, dropped a couple positions. I think he dropped behind AP and Coop, but seventh was a solid ride there. Eighth place, Justin Hill, getting better every race in the night. Ninth place, Shane McElrath, another decent finish for him inside the top 10. 10th, Dylan Ferrandis. Good to see him come back for race 3 after his crash in race 2. 11th, Benny Bloss. 12th, Jason Anderson. I mentioned talking about race 2 that Anderson did have another crash on the night. He went down in the long rhythm on the first lap. Some people online said it looked like his whole shot device didn't unengage, but it looked to me like it was engaged and maybe re-engaged when he went down. I'm not sure what happened there, but went down all by himself in this one. 13th, Christian Craig, solid bounce back from the 15th. 14th, Mitchell Oldenburg. 15th, Mitchell Harrison. 16th, Colt Nichols. 17th, Chiz. 18th, Grant Harlan. These guys finished neck and neck all night. 19th, Jerry Robin. Rough finish here in race 3 for Jerry. 20th, Tristan Lane. Another 21st for Justin Starling. And 22nd for Kevin Morans. Looking at the overall, so Chase Sexton obviously going 1-1-2 on the night. This year unofficial Triple Crown champion. I don't believe they gave out a trophy this year as they have in years past. But Chase going, I think, 1-3-1 overall in these 3 Triple Crowns on the year. Finishing on the podium in every one except for the third race in Arlington where he obviously went down and finished 5th. Just a really good bounce back from Chase Sexton. Second place, Malcolm Stewart. 3-2-3 is going to put you on the podium every time. Really good for Malcolm, especially to bounce back after that crash in qualifying where he looked really looked to be hurt. Third place, good to see AP back on the podium again. AP has found his form. Fourth place, Cooper Webb. Rough night for Cooper Webb. It was hard to see Coop finishing off the podium in a bit of a weakened field, but here we are. One mistake really did him in. On the entire night, so unfortunate for Cooper Webb here to get 4th. Ken Roxon, again, 4.64 scores for 5th place for him, knowing that he's riding injured, really good. This races were pretty top-heavy. The top 3 or 4 or 5 guys were all within the same range all night. So unfortunate, maybe math at a 4.64 to get 5th place, but good for Kenny. 6, Jay Coop, again, 6.76. It was a bit invisible on the night. But a good ride nonetheless to stay in the top 6 where he belongs and not let anything compound. Jason Anderson 7th, just a really rough night for Ando. 8th place, Shane McElrath, his best finish of the year with 8.12.9 scores. Justin Barcia 9th, 18.57. I do remember now with Barcia in the first race, he actually I noticed this on the track. He went over and through the net at some point late in race 1, and that led to his 18th place finish. 10th place, Benny Bloss, his best finish of the year, 10-10-11 aboard the Beta. 11th, Justin Hill. 12th, Christian Craig, right where I kind of expected him to be, with 11, 15, 13 scores. So kind of an up and down night around that same range, but finishing around the guys that we expected him to finish around. 13th, Dylan Ferrandis. 14th, Mitchell Oldenburg. 15th, Jerry Robin. 16th, Chiz. 17th, Grant Harlan. 18th, Colt Nichols. 19th, Mitchell Harrison. 20th, Tristan Lane. 21st, Kevin Rands. And 22nd, Justin Starling. Looking at the points, Cooper Webb now only has an 8-point lead over Chase Sexton. Chase really cut that thing in half this week. Looking forward into next week, we're going to Seattle. It looks like a mud race. That could be really interesting, could really shake things up. We know these guys can survive the mud, but with the forecast looking the way it does, it'll be really interesting to see what happens here. Kenny's a ways back in the points now. He's looking kind of to be out of it. It's really going to be a 2-horse race unless something drastic happens here. Really excited for Seattle next week. I'm flying out Thursday and going to Seattle 2 races in a row. I'm excited for a mud race. I'm excited to get the whole Seattle experience. Maybe it shakes things up in the championship. Maybe it doesn't. Really excited to see what happens here between Cooper Webb and Chase Sexton, and of course the 250 West class going back west. See how Deegan bounces back from his arrest this week. I'm sure he's going to be on rails trying to prove a point. So it should be an interesting week. That's all I've got this week. If you want to follow us on X, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Not Another Moto Pod. And thanks for listening.